You've used ChatGPT. Maybe you use it every day. You type something in, it types something back. And it's either impressive or slightly unhinged on the day. But have you ever stopped and thought, what is actually happening in there? Because it's not a search engine. It's not a database of answers. It's not a human pretending to be a robot, pretending to be helpful. It's something genuinely different. And once you understand what it actually is, you'll never look at it the same way. By the end of this video, you'll understand how ChatGPT works, using zero math, zero code, and at least 2 examples involving food. Let's get into it. Here's the core idea in one sentence. ChatGPT is a system that has read an almost incomprehensible amount of text, books, articles, websites, code, forums, probably your old blog posts, and learned to predict what word comes next. That's it. That's the foundation. Now I know what you're thinking. Just predicting the next word, that sounds like the autocomplete on my phone. And yes, it's the same basic idea. Except, imagine your phone's autocomplete had read every book ever written, every Wikipedia article, every Stack Overflow thread, and somehow absorbed the patterns of how humans communicate about everything from quantum physics to what to cook for dinner. At some point, predicting the next word well enough requires actually understanding things, context, cause, and effect, how ideas connect. And that's where it gets interesting. ChatGPT is what's called a large language model, or LLM. Large because it was trained on an enormous amount of text. Language because it works with words and sentences. Model because it's a mathematical system that learned patterns from data rather than being hand-programmed with rules. Nobody sat down and wrote code that says, if someone asks about the weather, respond like this. The model figured out patterns by reading billions of examples of how humans write and talk. It's less like programming a calculator and more like raising a kid who reads constantly and never sleeps. And here's the wild part. There are actually different flavors of language models built for different jobs. Some are built purely for understanding text, like reading a review and deciding if it's positive or negative. Some are built purely for generating text, which is what ChatGPT does. And some do both, like translating a sentence from English to French. Its whole job is to produce the next most sensible word, over and over, until you have a response. Now here's something that will change how you think about ChatGPT. It doesn't actually read your words. It reads chunks, called tokens. A token is roughly 3 or 4 characters. So a long word like unbelievable might get split into unbelievable. Your entire message, every single word gets chopped into these small pieces, and each piece becomes a number. A list of numbers is all ChatGPT actually sees. This is why it occasionally gets weird about spelling or counting letters. If you ask it how many R's are in strawberry, it's not looking at letters, it's looking at the token-sized chunks. It's like asking someone to count the sprinkles on a cupcake while only being allowed to look at it through a straw. The good news is that this chunking system is extremely efficient for understanding meaning, even if it makes some simple tasks surprisingly hard. So the model has your message as a list of numbers. Now what? First, each of these numbers get turned into something richer, a point in a vast, high-dimensional space. Think of it like a map, except instead of 2 dimensions like north-south, east-west, it has thousands of dimensions. And on that map, words with similar meanings end up near each other. Dog and puppy are neighbors. Cold and freezing are neighbors. King and queen are neighbors, just offset in a particular direction. This is how the model carries meaning, not by looking words up in a dictionary, but by knowing where they live in space, relative to everything else. Then comes the part that really makes transformers special, and it's called attention. Here's an example. Imagine you're reading the sentence, I left my guitar in the car because it was too heavy to carry. What does it refer to? The guitar, right? Not the car. You figured that out instantly because you paid attention to the right words in context. ChatGPT does the same thing, mathematically. For every word it processes, it calculates how much attention to pay to every other word in the sentence. It figures out it should be paying a lot of attention to guitar and not much to the car. That attention reshapes how each word is understood. This happens across dozens of layers, each one refining the model's understanding of how all the words relate to each other. By the time it's done, the model doesn't just know what the words mean in isolation, it knows what they mean in the specific sentence, in this specific context. All of this, the map of meaning, the attention calculations, every pattern the model knows, come from training. Here's how training worked. Engineers fed the model trillions of tokens of text. For each chunk of text, the model tries to predict the next word. It got it wrong, a lot. The system measured how wrong and nudged the model's internal settings, called weights, in a direction that would make it slightly less wrong next time. Then it did that billions of times. Think of it like this. Imagine you're learning to bake bread by making 1,000 loaves. And every time the bread comes out wrong, someone tells you exactly which step to add. Over enough attempts, you get really good at bread. Except ChatGPT made about 1 trillion loaves of bread, and the feedback was automatic and continuous, running on thousands of computers simultaneously for months. What comes out of that process is a model with billions of internal settings, tuned to reflect the patterns of human language across basically every topic ever written above. Here's the thing though, After all that training, the base model is powerful, but kind of chaotic. Ask it a question and it might just keep writing more questions. Because in its training data, questions were often followed by more questions. It's statistically accurate, but not actually useful. So there was a second phase of training called RLHF, which stands for Reinforcement Learning from Human Feedback. You don't need to remember that name. What you need to know is what it does. Real humans looked at different responses from the model and said, this one is better, this one is worse. Those judgments were used to build a scoring system. Then the model was trained again, and this time rewarded for producing responses that humans preferred. It's like the difference between a very well-read person who answers every question by dumping everything they know on you versus someone who's also well-read but has learned how to actually be helpful in a conversation. The knowledge is the same, the behavior is completely different. So when you hit send, what actually happens? ChatGPT reads your prompt, runs it through all these layers of attention and pattern matching, and produces one token at a time, the most sensible continuation. It picks a word, appends it, picks the next word given everything so far, appends it, repeats until the response is done. That's even a setting called temperature that controls how adventurous it gets. Low temperature means it almost always picks the safest, most predictable word. High temperature means it sometimes picks a less likely word, which can make responses feel more creative, or occasionally completely off the rails. Same model, different dial. So that's ChatGPT, not magic, not a search engine, not someone typing really fast in a server room somewhere. It's a system that learned the patterns of human language by reading almost everything we have ever written, figured out how to pay attention to context the way we do, and then got trained by humans to actually be useful. And it does all that, one token at a time. And if this one made something click for you, hit like and subscribe because there's a lot more where this comes from. Hey everyone, I'm Jasdeep and I explain complex AI concepts like this. Follow for more.